My boss is a micromanager. Welcome to Corporate Agony Aunt, the podcast that takes the agony out of career progression and gives you the straight-talking advice you actually need to thrive at work. I'm Izzy, your Corporate Agony Aunt. Whether you're chasing a promotion, negotiating a pay rise, navigating office politics, or just figuring out your next career move, this is the place for the career highs, lows, yeses, and nos. And hit subscribe wherever you're listening because your next big opportunity starts right here. Today we're talking about micromanagers and how to avoid being overworked and underpaid. Let's spill some corporate tea. Our first corporate dilemma is, Dear Corporate Agony Aunt, my boss micromanages everything. How do I handle it? A micromanaging boss can make work frustrating, slow down, and kill motivation. But before assuming that they're just controlling for the sake of it, consider why they might be acting this way. Micromanagement is often driven by a lack of trust, anxiety about outcomes, or previously bad experience with employees who just didn't meet expectations. Understanding this helps you craft a solution that works for both of you. So you need to anticipate your manager's needs. If your boss is constantly asking you for updates on a specific project or task, that is a sign that they're anxious about it. So instead of waiting for them to check in, just provide updates before they ask. This gives them peace of mind and reduces their need to micromanage. And it matters because it helps shift the dynamic from them chasing you for updates to them trusting that you've got it covered. You also need to over-communicate strategically. Set up a structured way to keep them informed. Daily check-ins, weekly reports, progress summaries, I don't care what it is, but proactively say, I'll update you on X on every morning so you don't have to follow up with me. It matters because it preempts their need to micromanage, making them feel in control when giving you space to work. And you also really need to clarify their expectations. So by asking, what's the best way for me to keep you in the loop without interrupting your workflow? It shows that you're proactive and engaged while sort of subtly nudging them to step back. It sets clear boundaries on communication and it establishes a method that actually works for both of you. But really and truly, you need to demonstrate reliability. You need to demonstrate that you're a safe pair of hands. Micromanagers often hover because they don't fully trust their team to deliver. So the more consistently you meet or exceed expectations, the more confidence they'll have in your ability. Over time, proving your competence gives them fewer reasons to interfere. If you gently set boundaries, their micromanagement will become less obsessive and they'll find ways to redirect it. So instead of multiple interruptions throughout the day, why don't you just propose a single daily check-in? Something like, to keep us both focused, how about a quick 10-minute update every morning instead of multiple check-ins? It shows initiative from you whilst also creating breathing room and some boundaries. Feed them updates before they ask, and I promise you the micromanagement will slow down. They're only doing it because they feel out of control. If you control the flow of information, you remove their need to hover and you regain your autonomy and a nicer place to work for everyone. The next corporate dilemma is, I'm doing extra work but not getting paid for it. What do I do? Taking on extra work can sometimes be a good thing, and don't listen to the people that say you should never do an extra bit of work. Honestly, it leads to growth and promotion, and consistently having additional responsibilities demonstrates that you are acting above and beyond your pay grade. But the biggest mistake people make is assuming their hard work will automatically be noticed and rewarded. I promise you, it won't. If you're not keeping track and advocating for yourself, extra work can just quickly become expected work without extra pay. This is how you absolutely need to handle it, and it starts with documenting everything. Start keeping a list of every additional task, project, or responsibility you've taken on. Include measurable impact. For example, I took over X project and increased efficiency by 20%, or I stepped in to manage Y task, reducing errors in the team by 30%. It matters because when it's time to negotiate, you need clear proof of how your work is adding real, measurable, tangible value. You also need to know your worth before you go into the conversations, researching salary benchmarks for your role and the extra work that you're doing, checking job listings with the same title to see if your extra work matches a higher paying role elsewhere. That's leverage. It matters because you need hard data to back up your request. So saying I do extra work is vague. Saying I've taken on X, which is typically compensated at Y, very powerful. And also you need to time it right. The best time to ask for more pay is after a major win, a successful project, big result, hitting a key goal. During a performance review, when your contributions are already being assessed, is a really good time. And if your workload has permanently increased, not just temporary extra work, it's a good time to lean into those conversations. But remember that timing is everything. If companies are talking about budgets and cuts, it's probably not the right size to talk about building your budget up when people are downsizing. You need to make a business case. So instead of saying, I want to I want a raise because I'm doing more work. Say, since taking on X and Y, I've improved Z. I'd love to discuss how my contribution can be reflected with my compensation. Employers don't give raises out of kindness, no matter how much we would love for them to do it. They do it when they see business value in keeping you happy and retained. So you need to be ready to walk if needed. If your company consistently expects more without compensation, it's time to explore the better paying opportunities. If they say, oh, there's no budget right now, Izzy, ask, well, when can we revisit the conversation? But if they keep stalling, you just need to take a hint, because some companies will exploit employees who don't push back. Knowing your worth means knowing when to move on. Free work today genuinely does become expected work tomorrow, so if you don't set boundaries, unpaid extra work will become your new normal. The sooner you advocate for fair pay, the better. We're up to Corporate Confessionals, which is my favourite part of the podcast, where we share other people's massive mistakes and blunders to help you feel better about the mistakes you may have made in your career to date. This one is my personal favourite. I just read it before now and I was crying laughing, so I'm going to share it with you very candidly and anonymously with trust from the person that shared it. I've got so many corporate confessionals, but these two haunt me and make me howl with laughter in equal measure. I once went on a company incentive trip to Magaluf and I was talking to the COO in the pool for ages and ages. That's the Chief Operating Officer. Turns out I was that drunk, my boob was hanging out the whole time. I was adamant I was sober. The second time was where a coffee mug skipped and bounced out of my hand as I shook a Chief Technology Officer's candidate's hand who was about to deliver a 30-minute pitch presentation for an interview with me and the CEO. But the mug of coffee did not just smash, it bounced and covered the CEO and the CTO in hot coffee and went all over the brand new tech equipment in the boardroom too. That was last year. And now we go to Ibiza together. I really like that one because she's actually able to laugh and joke about the mistakes she's made. And also she's demonstrated that these things aren't that serious. If you can create a moment of magic in misery, in a mistake, then you're going to be remembered. Being memorable is so good. Preferably be remembered for keeping your boob in your top in the pool. But if you're going to have a bad moment, then please learn to laugh it off, shake it off, and just remind yourself that everybody makes mistakes. And if you find someone that doesn't, send them my way because I'll be sure to remind them that I'm sure they have. So thank you for that anonymous writing. I won't share any more because it might give it away. Next up, it's the Interview Power Move Masterclass. Today we're talking about how to write a cover letter that stands out. Unpopular opinion, cover letters are often pointless unless they're required, but if you must write one, you better bloody make it count. You need to start with a hook. Skip, I am excited to apply, because that is the most boring thing ever. Instead, start with an achievement or a personal connection to the company. So, for example, in my last role, I increased engagement by 40%, so when I saw your vacancy, I just knew I had to apply. Keep it short. Recruiters don't have time for war and peace. Half a page is plenty. You can use bullet points or a short, punchy paragraph format. And honestly, if you're feeling bold, which I often am and I always advocate for, a video cover letter can go a long way. If you really want to stand out, just consider sending a short video introduction. Keep it under 60 seconds, professional and to the point. If a company doesn't specifically ask for a cover letter, skip it. If they do, keep it personal, direct and impactful. Next, we're going to talk about the art of an introduction, which does partly correlate with a cover letter because they're both introductions, they're both elevator pitches. I have two techniques for introduction. Mine and then another that I use for big pitches. Mine is where I use my name as a frame to help remember it from memory. I'll always remember one interview that I went to where we were asked to be able to introduce ourselves within 60 seconds to 2 minutes and we weren't allowed any notes. That day, every single other person turned up with notes because they weren't confident enough in doing their introduction without notes. I'm going to give you an example of how I use my name as a frame, and I know that was the moment that I made the best first impression I could, and a first impression that was head and shoulders above the people in the room. So let's say I was applying for a commercial leadership role in education. My name is Isobelle. I will use the name Isobelle to frame what I'm going to talk about purely to help my recall, okay? If your name is not a useful name, pick the name Beyonce. It doesn't matter what it is, but have a prompt or something that you can use as a frame. So the letter I for Isobelle I use for I am Isobelle, I am from, I am interested in this, I am that. The letter S for Isobelle was my experience in sales and strategy, which was the role I was applying for. The letter O in Isobelle was the organisations I've worked for, all big Manchester brands in tech, education and branding. The letter B for Isobelle was building high performance teams. E was my education, my first class degree from Northumbria University. L was about my leadership experience. The second L was the things I loved to do. Final E was about my energy and enthusiasm. So I use my name as a frame to help my recall, and what's more, I practice. I know I practice things more than anyone else. People say I don't like public speaking, I don't know how to introduce myself. Well, you don't practice, and that's it. If you practice, honestly, you would see improvement straight away. The second type of induction framework is what I'll use more for pitches or when I'm presenting something, and this is a proven framework called name, same, frame, aim, game. So for example, the interviewer says, tell me about yourself in a job interview. You start with your name, who you are and what you do. It's pretty simple, keep it clear, concise and relevant to the role. And then you move on to same, where you are trying to align with the company's goals. So you show that you align and understand with what they need and your passions and their vision are in alignment with one another. Then you go on frame. Frame is where you position your value. So you highlight your experience and achievements that are most relevant to the role. In my last role, I led a project that blah, 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 saved money, improved efficiency, increased revenue, etc. Then you go for aim. Make it clear what you're looking for. Explain why you're interested in this opportunity. I'm looking for a role or a business where I can da-da-da-da-da whilst helping da-da-da-da-da achieve their goals. And lastly, game. Keep the conversation going. Invite discussion and show enthusiasm. I'd love to hear more about how your team is tackling a specific challenge related to the role and how I can contribute. So I'll put together a final example for you, but feel free to rip it off and use it for yourself. Mine would be something like, hi, I'm Izzy, a career strategist and workplace expert who's spent years helping professionals navigate promotions, pay rises and corporate politics. I know that your company values ambitious, results-driven people, and that's exactly the space I thrive in. Through my work, I've coached professionals to land senior roles, negotiate 5-figure salary increases, and build careers that actually work for them, not just the other way around. I'm looking for a role where I can apply my expertise to help your team develop top talent and create a culture where people want to stay and grow. I'd love to hear more about how your team approaches career development and where you see opportunities for me and you to make an impact. They're the introductions. The secret to it is preparing. Your introduction should not be something you do on a whim. It should be a short elevator pitch where you can absolutely sell and excel ahead of the competition. And remember, if you weren't ready, you wouldn't have the opportunity. So now is not the time to be humble. Now is not the time to turn up to an interview and say, oh, I'm going for an interview, I don't think I'll get it. If you're in the room, it's because you are qualified to be there. People have spent time and money shortlisting and bringing you into that room. You better prepare like it. I promise you, it's worth it. Our last section of today is our community questions, where producer Georgia presents random questions from social media to me for us to answer. What's today, producer George?
First question is, my growth has halted even though I've told my manager. I'm stuck, but I love the company. What should I do?
Loving the company is gorgeous, but do you love the company or do you love the people that you're working with? Because those people could get up and leave at any given opportunity. Sometimes people stay for their favourite colleague and then their favourite colleague gets a new job the next day. So first of all, what you need to do is ascertain what it is that you actually love. Are you just comfortable? Are you confident and happy in the fact that you are learning and earning? Are you doing both or at least one? Or are you doing neither? If you're doing neither, then loving the company enough is not a reason to stay, okay? You need to hedge your bets. You need to ascertain what's important to you. And also, stop putting emphasis on maybes, okay? People make so much of the decision-making process about whether to leave or not, when in actual fact, that isn't a problem until you're presented with it. And what I mean by that is stop, look for new jobs, stay where you are, enjoy the job whilst you're there, but simultaneously start applying. And then when you're presented with an opportunity that's worth leaving the company you love for, the decision will be much easier. But at the moment, you're trying to make decisions on perhaps, on maybe, on what potentially might happen, rather than what's actually going to happen. So take a step back, start applying and see where you land. You might just land your next dream company, you never know. How is that one, producer Georgia?
Great, thank you. Second question, how to make the best impression starting at a new company?
Starting at a new company can be really nerve-wracking, and I think sometimes you go in and you think, oh my goodness, I must change the world. You mustn't. You must not change the world. In actual fact, you mustn't change anything for at least the first 4 to 6 weeks. I would go in and I would simply listen. I would listen with absolute intensity. I would ask questions, open questions. I would collate my questions. I would ask my manager them on a weekly basis. I would write reams and reams of notes, as many notes as I could possibly comprehend. At the end of each week, I would condense my notes. The week after, I would write the same amount of notes. I would be note-taking. I would be digesting as much information as I possibly could. The action of writing notes is really good discipline for you. It helps you onboard the information that you're getting in onboarding, but it also demonstrates through body language how passionate you are about the induction process. Furthermore, it allows you to collate all of your ideas, your blue sky thinking, and pick the 3 that you think at the end of your 6-week period are going to have the most impact and cut through based on what you've seen of the company. Once you've got those 3, put them in a pitch deck to your team and your manager and ask them to pick the one that they think is the most interesting that you can carry away with. Do not come in and try and change things straight away. People don't like that. Take your time, listen and learn.
Next question is, everyone tells me to build my personal brand, but I don't see the point.
Oh, you don't see the point in protecting your entire future career opportunities and new business opportunities? No, I'm only joking, I'm being facetious. There is always a point in personal brand. If you don't see the point, it's because you've not actually tried it and you've not seen the return on the investment of your time. What's more, personal brands are free to build. They just require a little bit of consistency and commitment. I know why you don't see the point yet, and it's because you've not yielded anything from building your personal brand. But our security in our career is our responsibility and no one else's. I've built my personal brand to the point where I'm in the position that if I lost my job today, I would feel confident that I could put a post out to my network tomorrow and I would find something very quickly, touch wood. Most people do not have that luxury because they have not built the bandwidth and the resilience within their network, okay? Companies are very volatile. Big companies make mass hirings one year and mass firings the next year. The only way we can mitigate against the risk of the impact on us is to save, first of all, and have some money for a rainy day fund, but also invest in our personal brand. Our companies that we work for now do not care about our next job. They don't care about their next opportunity. Only we can care about that. They care about your contribution whilst you're working for them. So use that time to demonstrate what you're capable of, what your skill sets are, what your strengths are, what your interests, your hobbies, your passions, and leverage your personal brand whilst you're on work time to nail that next opportunity. And you don't know, that next opportunity might just come straight to you inbound and you might never have to apply for a job again. So I'd start investing now. It compounds over time. I promise you, 5 years from now, you'll be so glad you started building your personal brand. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of persistence, and we've all got a bit of that. How was that, producer Georgia? Yeah. That's it for today. I really hope this episode helped to kickstart your career glow up. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our future career tips and tricks, and share this with a friend who's also navigating their career journey or job hunt. And let's build an unstoppable community of professionals who know how to win in the corporate world. There's so many extra resources on my website and the links in my bios to help you land your dream job and tackle your corporate dilemmas one step at a time. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Corporate Agony Aunt.